Yeah, you may think this is an odd group up here, agriculture, environment, the folks from the Commerce Department and budget all working together on something, but it really makes a lot of sense. I'm responsible for all the water in the Commonwealth, for water quality, for water quantity, for water that smells bad, for making sure we have water to drink that's of this quality. One of the great economic drivers for Pennsylvania now and in the future is a wonderful water resource. And we need to protect and preserve that, both as a basis for the quality of life we have and for economic development in the future. Pennsylvania has the most rivers and streams of any state in the Union except Alaska. We have 83,000 miles of streams. And that's the good news. The bad news is that about 20,000 of those or so are impaired, meaning they can't meet the visual swimmable requirements of the Federal Clean Water Act or our state clean streams law. And there is a significant proportion of those that are impaired because of land use practice. We have a good program for permitting what happens at the end of a discharge pipe, and we do that regularly, and that's a program that's existed for a long time. It's a lot trickier to deal with the rest of the pollution that's getting into our streams because it's coming from every property, whether it's got forests on it, whether it's got my house on it, whether it's got a farm on it. Every single property is contributing some amount to the pollution that ends up in the stream. And it's not that anybody's doing anything terrible in most cases, it's that little bit of insult that we could do better on each piece of property. The land use practices, the BMPs we need to put in place in our homes, our farms, our businesses, our roads, our communities, our downtowns, our shopping centers. We need to do a little better on every piece of property so those little insults don't add up to the impairment we currently have. The single largest source of impairment is acid mine drainage in Pennsylvania, but almost tied for that is nutrient enrichment. Nutrients, just what they sound like. By nutrients we mean phosphorus and nitrogen, two major plant nutrients. It's basically fertilizer. You know where fertilizer comes from. It either comes from manure of people or animals, or it comes from fertilizers that we put on the ground, commercial fertilizers, or from naturally occurring sources of nitrogen and phosphorus, like that comes out of the air through deposition. So what do we do? We've got about half of the streams that are impaired by nutrients, roughly half of it we think is coming off agricultural land. And the good news, some people see that as a reason to say, well, the farmer is part of the problem. What I see is that the farmer has the key to the solution. We really believe that in this province, in this region, the first best land use for an environmental point of view is production agriculture, because it provides us the opportunity to treat the water, as well as growing food, fiber, energy, feedstocks, and hopefully water treatment. Morson's Cove area is a good example. I think it's a microcosm of the issues. You have mooring springs, incredibly high-quality springs, limestone-driven systems. You also have, though, groundwater that you can't drink. It's because of agricultural pollution primarily. And because that groundwater isn't drinkable, we also have to put restrictions on new homes in areas where you can't put in a new septic tank because you can't allow more discharge of nitrogen in water that is already going to harm your neighbor's well. So you have restrictions right now, right here, because of poor water quality as a result of not putting in all the practices we could put in to prevent those nutrients from getting into our water. Similar situation. You have some exceptional value streams, really high-quality streams, and a few miles downstream, we've got impaired streams in this watershed. Part of the reason it's such a mixed bag is that limestone spring-fed nature is that some of the stream reaches get plenty of good clean water, dilutes and makes a wonderful stretch of stream, but then things running off the land end up impairing it a couple miles downstream. So we have a real microcosm of the issues, and we have the solutions here. You all have been leaders in looking at alternative energy and the way farms can be part of the energy solution, and you all have looked at things like digesters and innovative solutions and community solutions for the water issues. This program, I think, has a lot of potential to help because there are a lot, as Matt said, we see a lot of producers very willing to adopt practices. They'd like to put in no-till, or they'd like to move to maybe ethanol feedstock production, either through corn or looking forward to doing cellulosic, maybe growing switchgrasses and other oil-producing crops like soybeans for biodiesel. But if you up the production of some of those, you're going to need to increase the BMPs on the land to offset any additional nutrients. So how are you going to be able to afford to do that? How are you going to keep in the profit and in the black instead of in the red? Hopefully, we'll get a good farm bill with a good conservation title, and we've all been lobbying. Ironically, that's what I lobby on. I lobby on the agricultural farm bill as the Deputy Secretary for Water when I go to Washington. That's the big thing they know me on the Hill for. I wouldn't have expected that when it came in, but now that I understand things better, it makes perfect sense. But beyond the farm bill, we can provide incentives for people who want to adopt these practices right now, right here, and the REAP program is a good example. They'll give you more details about how it works in terms of how you participate, but it has a couple of unique characteristics that people not involved in agriculture can sponsor and upfront money to farmers so that you can, there's a mechanism so that you can get money up front from a sponsor to put in the practice, as well as what you probably expected, which is you can put in the practice and take the tax credit in your tax bill, or if you have additional credits beyond what you need to eliminate the tax liability, you can sell them to another party. So this provides another source of income. It may be a more palatable source. We know there are a lot of plain-set farms throughout Pennsylvania who are unenthusiastic about some of the government-run programs, but this may be a way for them to benefit and by not having as big a tax liability. So that may be a program that is more suited for their beliefs and practices and way of doing business. So there's a lot of opportunity here. I'll move on to the agricultural aspects of things, and Secretary Wolf.